Today we're going to be making an award-winning AeroPress recipe. Welcome back to About Coffee, where we talk about all different things to do with coffee. And today we're going to be making an AeroPress recipe that won the 2016 AeroPress World Championships. It is a fantastic cup of coffee. I've brewed it many times before and I want to show you that recipe. So we're going to start with 35 grams of coffee and we're going to grind that more on the coarser side. And by the magic of editing, my coffee has been ground. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my AeroPress. So I make sure I just turn on the scales, make sure I'm getting the exact right weight, which is that 35 grams of coffee. Then we're going to make sure we've wet our filter papers. We want to make sure we do that before every time we use an AeroPress. The reason we do it is just we don't want that papery taste left over with our AeroPress. Now I'm using 2 filter papers. The reason I do that is that when I push down, it just makes a cleaner cup of coffee and make sure any residue or anything isn't passing that one paper, so I always add an extra paper just for safety. Now here's where it gets a little speedy and a little complicated. So we're going to add 150 grams of water in 15 seconds. So very fast pour. Then we're going to stir for 20 seconds. Then we're going to add our cap and we're going to wait for a minute, and that's when we're going to invert our AeroPress and push down. So let's get on with that. So I'm just going to turn my scales on, start my timer, and here we go. So 150 grams of water. Make sure that's done in the 15 seconds. There we go. Then we are going to stir. We want to give it a really good stir. And we're going to do that for the next 20 seconds. This recipe is actually awesome if you have a washed coffee. It just, by doing all this stirring, it really brings out all of those flavors. With a natural coffee, I found that it gets a little bit too wacky, a little bit too much. Natural's already kind of a bit crazy anyway, whereas with a wash, this is just going to bring out those extra flavors, which I absolutely love. So add the cap, and then wait for that timer to hit a minute, and then we're going to invert our AeroPress. So let's go ahead and invert the AeroPress, and we're going to push down. As you can see, I'm having coffee in a whiskey glass today. Coffee in a whiskey glass. Coffee in a whiskey glass. Now this push should last 30 seconds, so the brew time we're looking for is 1 minute and 30 seconds. So there we go, our press is done. Now, I know what you're thinking. 35 grams of coffee, and that's all the coffee we're getting. Well, this is where I absolutely love this recipe. And you'll see this with a few different recipes, that it almost creates a cordial of coffee. So then we're going to add more water on top. Now, this is where it comes to personal taste, is you can add more water or less water depending on where you like it. So it's worth kind of taste testing as you go. A rough guide for you, and the original recipe that won the championships was 160 grams of water they added on afterwards. But that can go anywhere kind of between 150 to 200 grams added on to your recipe after you've done this cordial. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some more water now. Now I'm gonna aim to add about 150, start around that point, see where I'm thinking. Now this is all down to personal taste. So what you guys might like at home might be different to what I like. Yeah, I want to add a little bit more water to that. So I'm just going to add another 20 to that. Yeah, there we go. That is what I've been looking for. That is awesome. Obviously a little bit warm right now. As this coffee cools down, it is fantastic. Like I said, give it a go with a washed coffee. Really worth checking out with a washed coffee. I'd recommend a Kenyan coffee would be fantastic for this recipe. So a Kenyan washed coffee. Try out this recipe. Really go to town when you're mixing it on those 20 seconds. Just pull out those different flavors. And if you want to be a little bit bougie like me, you can serve it in a whiskey glass. Yes, I'm about it. Coffee in a whiskey glass. I'm about it. I'm about this recipe. This is an awesome one to try out. Make sure you let me know if you've tried it out in the comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe for way more AeroPress recipes and everything you need to know about coffee.